What's up, everybody? Welcome in to the Buffalo Bills NYup Facebook page. I'm Matthew Fairburn. I cover the Buffalo Bills for NYup.com and Syracuse.com, and I am here to take your questions on the Buffalo Bills, the new rookie class of draft picks. They just wrapped up rookie camp over the weekend. They've got the veterans and rookies together this week, so there's a lot of new stuff happening around One Bills Drive, a lot of new faces headlined by Josh Allen. And, we'll be here to take all your questions on that for the next 30 minutes or so, or however long you guys have questions. Let me just tweet out a link here to this so some people know we're in here, and we'll get rolling. The Bills had their two-day rookie minicamp over the weekend, started on Friday and went through Saturday. Only Friday was open to the media, so that was the only chance we got to kind of get a peek behind the curtain and see how these guys looked. The initial impression of, all the eyes are on Josh Allen at all times, and Charity jumped in here with the first question of what do you think of Josh Allen? And, the initial impression is mostly what you expect, right? He's got a super strong arm, and that's evident the second you see him on the field. And when we were down in Mobile for the Senior Bowl, we got a chance to see that arm and just how much of an advantage that gives him in the passing game. Now, obviously, accuracy was the big talking point with Josh Allen, and I think in rookie camp you saw that pop up a little bit here and there with placement, but for the most part, this was a controlled environment. There was a defense, but most of Josh Allen's throws were pretty short, within 10 yards. He went 10 for 12 on the day, and most of those completions were within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. He did have one 10-yard completion or so, but for the most part, it's hard to tell what a guy looks like in this type of setting when the veterans are on the field and when there's more live action. I think we'll get a better feel. I don't think it's fair to judge a guy on his first practice, even though I know that there is an excitement and an anticipation around this pick and around this player, and so much controversy around it, so many opinions on either side. But we won't get all the information on this guy until years down the road, but we really won't start learning about him until training camp, preseason. I think that's where you can draw a little bit more conclusions. Even the OTAs and minicamps coming up with the veterans, that's when you get to see how does he stack up against side by side against A.J. McCarron, because I know A.J. McCarron is sort of the forgotten guy, but we haven't seen him on the field either. And for a guy that, hasn't really gotten too much of a chance in his NFL career, it'll be interesting to see what, A.J. McCarron looks like in this offense and with these receivers, because he's a guy that's going to have a legitimate chance to win this starting job as well. And I think, seeing him and Allen stack up side by side, that's when we're going to get the first taste of what this quarterback competition is really going to be. Charity says record predictions. My initial record prediction was 9-7 before the draft when I first saw the schedule. I mean, I understand a lot of the concerns people have about the offense, but defensively, this team has improved tremendously. I think the addition of Tremaine Edmonds at inside linebacker, he's instantly their best linebacker. And I know he's only 20 years old, but I think you can expect pretty big things from him early on. Vontae Davis at cornerback, I think, has a chance to be an upgrade over E.J. Gaines. And at the very least, will keep this secondary on par with, what they had. They added Taron Johnson and Siran Neal in the draft, and both of those guys, to me, give them some flexibility in what they can do at the nickel position. They let go of Leonard Johnson, but now they have Taron Johnson and Siran Neal. Siran Neal played linebacker, cornerback, and safety at Jacksonville State. This is a guy who can match up with bigger receivers and tight ends in the slot. Meanwhile, Taron Johnson out of Weber State, I talked to his college coach last week, compared him to Antoine Winfield because he's physical. He can tackle, but, you know, he may not have the size, but he can move and he can stick with receivers. So I think he is going to settle in nicely in that nickel spot. And then you got Phillip Gaines competing as, you know, a fourth corner. And I think really the secondary is pretty deep. So you got better at linebacker, you got a deeper secondary, and not to mention Starlo Dulele and Trent Murphy are two solid additions to the defensive line that brought back Kyle Williams. So on paper, the defense should be quite a bit better this season than it was last season. Offensively, they don't look quite as good. You lose Eric Wood, you lose Richie Incognito, don't do much to upgrade wide receiver. But I don't think the drop-off is quite as bad as people might expect either. So I think they have a chance to repeat some of the success they had last year. A lot of it will depend on the quarterback position. Is Josh Allen ready to, you know, jump on the field right away and play winning football for this team? Or can A.J. McCarron do that while Josh Allen develops on the bench? Those are two big questions, I think, that will get answered all through the summer. And look, there's a lot of people on the outside that, you know, analyze the NFL, a lot of smart people that say this Bills offense and even this Bills roster is among the worst in the league. I mean, Football Outsiders has them projected as the worst record in the NFL right now. Right now, I don't see that. I need to see more in training camp and preseason to be convinced that the drop-off is going to be as bad as it is. Because remember, the AFC is not a strong conference, and I harp on this a lot, but it's really true. I mean, when you look at what the Bills were able to do last year, despite, you know, all the turnover they had, all the players they got rid of, the bad football they played in the middle of the season, they still came away with a 9-7 record and a spot in the playoffs and almost beat the Jaguars, who were within a game of the Super Bowl. So I think the AFC is just so unpredictable that it's hard to count out the Bills before anything has even started, because Sean McDermott showed that this team, you know, can play week in and week out, that it won't beat itself necessarily the way it did under Rex Ryan. And I think as long as they can do that and stay consistent again, they should be in the mix. Maybe they drop off. Maybe the quarterback play isn't nearly as good as it needs to be, and they do drop off considerably. That's definitely possible, because Tyrod Taylor, despite his flaws, kept them at a level that, you know, was pretty steady. You know, you knew what you were going to get from him week in and week out, and he didn't turn the ball over. And I think that helped them more than people might realize last year. But it's not a huge, you know, bar to cross either for Josh Allen and A.J. McCarron. So I think they have a chance to repeat some of the success they had last year. It could be a step back slightly before they take a big step forward in 2019. But to me, I just think the AFC is wide open. It's there for the taking, especially in the AFC East. The Dolphins don't look good. The Jets will also have a rookie quarterback. So there's a chance to be the second best team in the AFC East. And then you look around at the rest of the conference, and, you know, the Chiefs are going to be playing with Patrick Mahomes. Who knows what they're going to get? The Chargers were inconsistent a year ago. The Broncos, you know, they got Case Keenum, but they weren't a very good team a year ago. The Raiders are an unknown. There's not too many teams that you look at in the AFC outside of the Patriots, maybe the Steelers, the Jaguars, maybe are the three that you look at and say, yeah, those teams should be pretty good. The rest, you know, it's up for debate on them. Gary Rupert says, who do you think will start at the QB position and why? This is tough because we haven't seen A.J. McCarron and Josh Allen on the field at the same time yet, side by side, to really get a gauge. And both of them are so unknown. They're, you know, Josh Allen's never played against NFL competition. A.J. McCarron's done it very little and hasn't done it much in Buffalo in this offense. I'll say this. I think Josh Allen's going to have a real chance to win this job. If he doesn't, that means he's maybe a little farther along or farther behind in his development than expected, or they just really had that plan. The reason I can't say one way or another who I think will start at the quarterback position is because I'm not sure how Sean McDermott's going to handle this situation. He's a somewhat conservative coach by nature, and that might mean for him they go with the veteran and A.J. McCarron and don't rush the rookie on the field. It's a new situation. We haven't seen how Sean McDermott handles a rookie quarterback. I will say I would be surprised if Josh Allen doesn't get on the field in 2018, and I would also be surprised if it wasn't in the first half of the season. I think he's going to get on the field sooner rather than later because you need to know what you have in Josh Allen after 2018 before you're going into that offseason and what will be a huge offseason for him next year going into 2019. Look at what Carson Wentz and Jared Goff did in their second seasons, taking their teams to the playoffs. Carson Wentz, was a big part of the Eagles Super Bowl team, even though, he was hurt before the playoffs. So when you look at what young quarterbacks are doing in this league, you need to get Josh Allen on the field to see what you have in 2018 at some point. I think there's a way you can win with him too. He's big, he can run, he can break tackles in the pocket, and he can make big plays with his arm. He's got such a strong arm that it opens up a lot of the field in your playbook and in the passing game. I think Brian Daboll is going to build an offense that will help Josh Allen succeed early on. And if they can do that, I see no reason why they shouldn't put him in. They also haven't committed a ton of money to A.J. McCarron where you sit there and say, well, you got to put A.J. McCarron on the field. He's the quarterback of this team. The money doesn't say that. So that, to me, says that Josh Allen has every chance to win this job and has every chance to, be a success early on. And, hey, they're going to need to live with the growing pains with this kid. As with any rookie quarterback, you're not going to throw him in there and expect that you're going to the playoffs and that, you're going to the Super Bowl in year one. But I still think it's a critical part of his development to get on the field early and kind of get his feet wet and see what he needs to work on, see what he can, already does well, and build on that. Because you learn on the field in the NFL. There's something to be said for sitting back and not rushing a guy, but the best quarterbacks in this league tend to survive the bumps and bruises that come with rookie struggles under center. So I think we'll see him on the field sooner rather than later, but I do think there's a chance that Sean McDermott will, kind of hesitate a little bit and say, let's keep A.J. McCarron out there as to start and let the rookie come along slowly. Daniel's asking about Josh Allen's arm. And yes, Josh Allen's arm lives up to the hype. I mean, he was out there. It was a typically windy day in Western New York on Friday at rookie camp, and he was slinging the ball around. I mean, there's no secret about this guy's arm. It was one of the best. It was the best arm in this draft and arguably one of the best arms in the NFL, I think, right away. I mean, the velocity he throws with is something special. Now, the challenge he's going to have is, can he keep that under control? Can he find the touch on the short passes? Can he be accurate enough with the football on easy throws to pick up yards and keep the offense on schedule? On high difficulty throws, I think he's got, he has the accuracy and the placement that you look for. I think he's a guy that, likes to let it rip, and that's why he's a little bit more natural in those throws. I think in the easier throws, in the timing and the rhythm throws, he needs to get a better feel. He needs to be more consistent with his footwork. He needs to be more consistent, with his mechanics, and then all that stuff will come. Teaching accuracy is not an easy thing. It's not to say it's a given that he'll become more accurate, but I think the offense can win even without him being exponentially more accurate than he was in college, because a handful of big plays a game will change your offense for you. If he can throw some 20-plus yard passes, then, your offense can flip the field very quickly. The question, I think, and this ties into who will start, is, can he do that with what's around him in Buffalo right now? Can these receivers that are here help him make those plays? Can Kelvin Benjamin get open often enough to create some of those big plays? Can Zay Jones take a step in year two to create some of those plays? That's the big question for me. I think, the arm is there, and Josh Allen has the chance to make plays as a rookie. But in this offense, is he going to, have the weapons around him to do it? I think people are underselling the Bills' weapons a little bit. I think Kelvin Benjamin, once he's healthy, will make some plays and help this team win. I also think he's a good match for Josh Allen, even though, the accuracy isn't pinpoint with Josh Allen. He's a very similar quarterback in a lot of ways to Cam Newton, who Kelvin Benjamin worked with in Carolina. Accuracy was always an issue for Cam Newton. And so, that's a thing where, you think maybe these guys are a good match. Maybe Josh Allen's willingness to throw the ball up and make big plays will be a good match for Kelvin Benjamin, who doesn't necessarily always get open, but who can make plays on contested catches. So it was always a questionable match with Tyrod Taylor and Kelvin Benjamin, because Tyrod Taylor didn't throw a lot of passes into tight windows, and that's where Kelvin Benjamin wins. Josh Allen is willing to take those chances. Maybe that's a good match. Ross points out, he says, we want more of a gunslinger than a 3-and-out quarterback. And I think that's what the Bills are going to get in Josh Allen. It's going to be a big difference between him and Tyrod Taylor, but that doesn't mean that the offense will be considerably worse. I think a lot of the stuff that Tyrod Taylor struggled with is what is going to be, maybe a strength of Josh Allen in terms of taking chances, being willing to push the ball downfield and create big plays in the passing game. I think a lot opens up for the Bills now that they have a quarterback who's not only able to make those throws, but who is willing to make those throws. I think people will miss some of what Tyrod Taylor brings to the table, but not a ton, just because he's a guy who didn't take a lot of chances with the football. And I think that was the cause of a lot of frustration with some of the fans. I mean, when you're a quarterback at an offense who's going 3-and-out a lot and relying on your defense, putting a lot of pressure on your defense, that doesn't spell good things for you long term. And that's not the type of offense the Bills wanted to have. That's why they fired Rick Dennison. That's why they got rid of Tyrod Taylor. They brought in Brian Daboll, and Sean McDermott said today in an appearance on WGR that he wants the offense to be more multidimensional, and he thinks it will be under Brian Daboll. He also mentioned that the offense will take advantage of matchups more than it did under Rick Dennison. And I think that's something that needs to be taken into account here is, can these Bills find a way to get Charles Clay open and create big plays for Kelvin Benjamin and create big plays, in the running game for LaShawn McCoy and even for Josh Allen. And I think all of that stuff is what's going to help them maybe take a step forward and match some of the production that they had in previous years. So I think there's definitely reason for optimism with this offense. I'm looking forward to seeing it in OTAs, in mini camps, in training camp, preseason, and eventually regular season, because I think that's when we're going to get a feel for what Brian Daboll wants to run as a system. But for the most part, you're looking at a team that has some of the talent to repeat what it did a year ago or even build on it. And I think definitely defensively, this team is going to be better. So definitely some reasons for optimism and some reasons to, be curious about this team going forward, because there's a lot unknown with this group. So many new faces and all of that. But seems like Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane are building a solid foundation for the future here. And that's all that, Bills fans wanted. For the first time in a long time, it feels like there's stability in Western New York. And you're not wondering about if Sean McDermott's on the hot seat or Brandon Beane's on the hot seat. This is a steady operation. A lot of that has to do with ending the playoff drought last year, but a lot of it too is the moves they've made, the way they've acted with conviction every step of the way. And now heading into this offseason, I think there's a chance that they can, earn more of that trust in the fan base. And I know a lot of people are excited to see Josh Allen back on the field. Next time we'll get a look at him will be next week, next Thursday, but we'll continue to jump on Facebook Live here periodically to answer any questions that you guys have about the team as more things pop up. And appreciate you guys coming in here with the questions today. We'll continue to make this a regular thing, and as long as you guys are interested in it. So I appreciate you guys taking some time out Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. We'll talk to you soon.